So before we even go there, now I don't see any homework attempts. Can we spend some time on the difficulties you're having with the homework?
Hold on, I think Glory needs a little help.
I think there's a you can resize it. That's right. Maybe close it and open that again.
Or if you just click on chat, it will disappear, resize.
Not the X. There's a downward arrow, and you click on it, just say close instead of leave. Did that work?
Oh no, Glory, we can't win them all.
Oh, I see. Okay, Glory. At the very bottom, there is there's a dot dot dot. Do you see right in the middle of that? You can click on the dot 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 and say merge with the main window. Right. I think that means your chat is reattached to the main window like how you want it. Hmm. Right. So well, it's you can resize it, right? You can kind of resize it to make it skinny and put it on the side. I mean, I think we can work with it. Let's move on with the class. So, anyone care to start? Like, what you found difficult? Like, what stopped you from doing the homework? I mean, really, you can just be honest. If you're very busy with schoolwork or there's something But if you did try and you just couldn't do it, I really would love to know the difficulties you're having.
Okay, so I've been busy for the past few days with schoolwork and trying to finish assignments, but I was able to make a attempt sometime today. It's just for me, again, I've just started coding in school now, but I kind of haven't trying to like understand the syntaxes, what line goes where. I know the formula of like combination, and that's like why it's into the Discord. I'm just having difficulty of if I'm missing something else to make the code work. That's what I'm saying.
You actually almost got it. That was actually a very good attempt. We'll dive into that. How about actually that's great. I mean, you almost nailed it. I mean, you definitely
Okay.
have like 90% of the idea. How about anyone else who was here for the last class?
So I was trying to work on some of it yesterday, but I really not sure how like the order of the stuff goes. Like I just not sure the functions or anything really, and the syntax as well was giving me a lot of problems.
Like what kind of problem?
Well, I mostly was not sure where to put like spaces in between stuff, and I was missing out some stuff. So it just gave a lot of errors when trying to run the code.
Okay, we'll hopefully we'll try to get you more familiar with Python today. All right, now let's jump in. Does everyone have the link? I can send it again. Yep. And let me make a few code blocks for, actually, okay, here, I'll make one for Glory. Okay, Glory, I made a code box for you. So let's review the factorial that we did last time. Matthew, do you understand how factorial works? Like, I mean, our implementation of it in Python.
Yeah, I get that so far.
So, so I guess if I were to make another one, if I were to write another function, so do you think you can try to tell me the problems you were having, like what you meant by where to put spaces?
So like really just between different signs, like different symbols like equals and stuff. And I was forgetting some of them as well.
Okay, let's try this. So actually, I'm gonna rename everything. So these, just so you know, these variable names, like including this one that I'm highlighting in my code tab, it's all arbitrary. You can name them whatever you want, but you just have to know like for this one, for my facto function, I'm naming my parameter num instead of number. So if I want to reference it, I will have to I will have to call num. Okay, so if we do so first, let's do this. Okay, forget about factorial and combination. Let me move this. Right. So just focus on facto here. So if I call facto 10, what does that mean? Or maybe tell me what's going to happen.
That would be the value of it.
Right. So what's going to happen if I press if I run my code block? And what does facto do? Yes, it would print 10. Okay, good. So it prints 10. Good. So let's try this. What if okay, how about this? Okay, we keep that. We had this before, and we also return that. So now, what would happen if I call facto? Like, does anything change? Does the output change? Okay, good. The answer is nothing changes. But what if I then do this? So what would change now? No, we're not looking at factorial. We're going to the basics. I feel like we're still missing the basics. That's why we cannot. That's why people are having troubles. I just want to get you guys over this beginner's hurdle so that we are all building on solid foundation.
Would that multiply factor by 10? Maybe.
Well, where's the multiplication? Like, here, just pay attention to all of these. We can forget about, since we're not calling combination or factorial, we're not doing all of that. So where is the multiplication? Okay, what if I add a few spaces to clarify? Would that change anything?
No.
Okay, good. So what if I add more spaces? So what can anyone guess what's the output? Okay, thanks for pressing it. But why do we get 2/10? Okay, please stop messing with my code block, please. So why do we get 2/10 in the output?
Is it because you're printing and returning num, so therefore it shows it twice? No, wait, hold on. I see
Go
print
ahead.
num and I see print facto 10. So it is printing 10 twice.
Correct. So when it's basically like math, okay? Anything that's inside the parameter will get evaluated first. So Python sees this print, but print what? Print facto with the input of 10. So Python is going to run facto first with 10. So this first 10 that you see is from this print. So you see 10 twice because we have two prints. We have one print here, which is being called here. Right? When we call facto 10, it prints number. Yeah, to make things very clear. Let's do this. So you see the difference now? So that first one comes from here. So it evaluates everything inside the parentheses first. So 10 goes in here, goes into facto, and facto does a print here. So that's the first 10 you see. Okay, so then facto returns num. So this gets evaluated to 10. Right? Now Python has evaluated. So at this point, 10 is printed and 10 is returned here. And then 2 times 10 is 20, and we print the 20. It would have the same effect if I put the 2 here as well. You see? Okay, no space this time. Does the same thing. Right? And I can even reduce this to n. Not a good practice. You just need to be consistent, right? Same result. Are we good here about how the operations, the order that they happen?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to name it val. You don't have to call it value. You can call it anything. You can call it v, val, or n2 if you want. The variable names are arbitrary, but once you name it, that's the name you have to go with. Okay, so we can look at a slightly different way of calculating factorial. So right? So this loop gives us sort of something we can use to calculate factorial, right? So last week we did it. We basically start from 1 and we just keep multiplying. But we can take a slightly different approach. What if, so to show you something you can do with lists, okay? We'll call this factor list, which is, we take this, right? So range returns something different. We have to convert that to a list. Okay. So now we have this list. I mean, we can print it. Right, it's 1 to 10 in the list form. Right, so far so good.
Yes, sir.
So today we'll learn the two very popular things you can do with the list. Okay, you can append, right? If we sorry, typo. Also, notice this none here. Does anyone know why we get a none? That's because
you're not going to print anything more than 99.
No, it's because it's because of here. If I comment this out, it goes away, right? I'll give you a hint. Oh, sorry. We have to call the function. Factor 10. Right, so that's a difference, right? So you can see it comes from that print. It's because we print the output. So in Python, every function must return something. So the default value, if I do this, and let me put this back, now we get the none again. It's because even if I don't write this line, all the functions must return something, and their default value is return none. So if I don't write a return, Python will underneath automatically add this return, and this return is the same as return none. Okay, all the functions must return something, and the default value is none. You cannot return nothing. That's why if you print the output of a function, and this function doesn't have a return, it will print none. That's where this none comes from. Okay, but you see our append 99 works. Just adding a 99 there. But that's not what we're going to do. Just to show you what you can do with the list. You can add to the end of it. So today, I'll show you can do the opposite. So you can do append and pop. So now, so watch what happens. See, it removes the last value, right? See what happens? Yeah. Let me print the list before we pop. Okay, so this is before we pop the full list, right? 1 to 10. So after we pop, it removes that from the list, and that value gets assigned to value, or we can call it val. You can name it whatever you want, but the good practice is don't use acronyms, because you might forget what it means later when you have to fix your code. So value is probably better than val. See, it works. So what we can do for factorial is we can use a while loop. We can, if we say the length of factor list, which is the number of things in factor. So now that we've popped one, it only has 9 things, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So what we want to do is while length is bigger than 1, val is equal to val times factor list dot pop. Does everyone see what we're doing here?
Yes, sir.
So now we can return val, and that should give us the factorial. Right, 5 is 120. Okay, so this is another way we can calculate factorial. And you've learned a few things you can do with the list in Python. You can append, and you can pop, and you can also measure its length. So in general, it's safer to do last week's method, like this def factorial, because the for loop always has an end. The while loop, you can get yourself into an infinite loop if you're not careful. Here we're okay because we're popping inside the loop. But if we forget to pop, then this while will just keep going forever and ever. Okay, so now if we go to the homework, Caitlin almost has the right idea. Combination. Here we can even be very cryptic and call it just A and B. Bad practice, but I'm just showing you this works too. So what you want to do is you just return factorial A divided by factorial A minus B. So if we print combination of 52, 5, this is the number of combinations. If I deal you 5 cards from a deck of cards, so right, we have 52 different cards, and I'm dealing you 5. This is the total number of different combinations that can be dealt. So remember, the key thing to remember is the function must return something. Okay, you're not setting the definition of the function, right? You are returning. So combination of A and B, right? In pseudocode, it looks like this. Factorial A. Also, does anyone know why we're getting a decimal? You want to see the infinite loop? We can try it. Does it? Yeah, I see that people have noticed it's a decimal, but why? It's because of this. Python always converts things to a float or decimal if you divide. Okay, if you still want an integer, what do you have to do? You have to what do you have to do? You have to convert your output, and that's this whole thing. So now you can get an integer. So if you want to read this a little bit easier, you might add a little spacing there. So now you can get your integer. Just remember, and here's another thing about spacing here, okay? The general rule in Python is, you see this colon? After the colon, you need to indent your code to tell Python what belongs inside the function or in if-else blocks. The if-else block also has if true, right? Also has a colon. You see what the editor does? If I give it a colon and press enter, it automatically tabs for me. Okay, but if else must remain in the same scope. Okay, and you can do something. If true, you can say print true. Right, same thing with the while loop, right? Colon, it just tells Python which Python's commands are supposed to run inside the while loop, and which statements are run inside the function. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
And you want to see what would happen if you run an infinite while loop? Sure, we can do that. I actually don't know what's going to happen. It's probably going to try. Wait, that's not true. Oh, sorry. It's facto. Yeah, see, it's running. I think it's gonna go on for a while, and then it's gonna say, like infinite loop caught. You see, it is going. It's dangerous. While loop is more dangerous. But the point of showing you this is to kind of show you that there's different ways to solve a problem. Like in Python, there's many different ways. Well, still going. See, it doesn't want to stop. I'm not even sure if this Python interpreter catches infinite loop. But you see, it's dangerous. So factorial, this implementation is safer because a range and a for loop always has an end, whereas a while loop may just keep on going forever. So I have to stop it. It's not going to stop. So now you see it's dangerous, right? We put a stop now. Now it's instant. Oh, it will probably not just go on for an hour. It will just keep going for days and days until you tell it to stop. Right, any questions? Do we understand everything that's going on? Like division always returns this operation, right? Even though this is an integer and this is an integer, but whenever Python sees the division, it will convert this to a float. It converts this to a float. It converts this to a float, and then a float divided by a float or a decimal. It will convert all the integers to a decimal, right? That's just what Python does. Because Python cannot safely assume all the divisions are perfect divisions. Like it has to allow room for a decimal calculation. Right, multiplication, addition, even subtraction, no problem. Right, integer subtracting integer is an integer. Integer added to an integer is an integer, right? Integer multiplied by integer is an integer, but that's not necessarily true with division. That's why Python always converts everything to a decimal. So if you want, this is what you do for a combination. Does that make sense? And we understand everything here, the difference between factorial and facto. And we can name our variables anything we want. But I highly recommend spelling a word that's easy to that you don't even have to remember. I mean, you see the code, you know what it's doing. That's the idea. Maybe even value is not the like some people like to say an answer. You can do that as well. Are we good here? Matthew?
Yes, sir.
Does that clear some of your confusion about spacing, maybe variable naming and scoping?
Yeah.
Okay, let me so Let me send this to you guys. And I will yeah, I sent that to you guys on the on Discord as well.
Thank you, sir.
This is a great like Python tutorial. Teaches you, probably it will most likely cover things I didn't cover. So hopefully that will help you during the winter break. If you have time. Internal server error, let me see. Glory, where's your code? I don't see your code block. And Matthew, you know you have that value equals value minus 1, right? That's just my test code. You don't, that actually gives the wrong result. Oh, it's because take the link from Discord, or you have to copy everything. You see that exclamation? For some reason, Zoom doesn't recognize exclamation as part of the link. You can copy the whole thing. Just add an exclamation at the end. Yeah, I don't know why Zoom doesn't like exclamation mark. But yeah, you understand what's going on. Okay, good. Was everyone able to load that Python tutorial? Matthew, Caitlin, Tia?
Hold on, sir. I'm just, I think I'm on the website.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
Okay, great. So I won't be able to, I would like to, but it's kind of impossible for me to cover all the bases of Python. So for whatever I've missed, hopefully these tutorials on this website will cover it. And don't forget Discord. You can always find me on Discord. Okay, thank you all for coming today. See you guys next week at the awards night.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. All right, take care, people.